Ray Rocha, fill me in on the two new Republican clubs.
Glad to. The first one is called the Sierra Republican Club.
Come out for a kickoff breakfast at the Atlantis Casino on Tuesday, the 5th of August. Our keynote speakers will be Dr. Robin Titus, Nevada's Minority Assembly Leader, Assemblyman P.K. O Neill, and Joe Weaver, State Director, Nevada Republican National Committee. So now on with Redmove. So for this episode of Redmove, we're going to have Shanimal Lawson, and he is from American Matters Media, and he will be talking with both Ray Rocha about the two clubs and a little bit with me. And then we're going to finish up with a short clip from Joe Weaver, State Director, Nevada Republican National Committee. Make sure you listen in to the end. Listen to Joe. He's going to give some pretty interesting information.
Clubs?
Glad to. The first one is called the Sierra Republican Club, and it's an action-oriented group. It's open to men and women in all positions. And again, we'll do active projects. Not just talk about it, but do something about it. Common sense solutions. The first meeting we're having, and they'll always be at the Atlantis, the way it stands now, is going to be a breakfast this coming Thursday, August the 5th, 8 o'clock. Doors open. 8:30 is breakfast. 9 o'clock are speakers. And it so happens this time, I'm doing an intro of at least 5 to 6 of the governor candidates, Senate candidate, a Secretary of State. These will be introductions, but there'll be speakers and do debates later on, not at this meeting. Because the prime of this meeting, the subject is review of the 2021 Nevada Legislature. And Dr. Titus, that's the Minority Assembly Leader, will be speaking. P.K. O Neill, that's an Assembly 40, will be speaking. And then from a different point of view, Joe Weaver, this is State Director for the Nevada for the Republican National Committee. And I think it's going to be a great lineup. In September, we already have that lined up.
Well, you spoke action. Let me interrupt you for a minute. Action? What do you mean by action? What are you going to do?
We're going to promote heavily and using the media and social media, promote candidates to make them more effective. Maybe even help them to be better job at promoting themselves.
Yeah, that'd be great. I smile and I laugh at media because I'm in the media, and the mainstream media is basically a joke. You're going to have to work your way around this. Unless you have major money to pay these, I guess, mainstream media, you're not going to have much shot on the mainstream. So how are you going to combat that?
Believe it or not, I have excellent contacts locally that follow me. Liberal,
I know you do for years and years. Yeah.
But I'm not depending on it. We're doing our own thing on YouTube, Twitter, different ones, and knowing that we're not going to get kicked off.
Good.
The way it works is we live stream at the meetings, but we also video it. And most of the time, we'll get up to 10,000 or more within a month of viewing a meeting, and maybe have 50 to 100 people at the actual meeting.
Well, we hope that translates into votes.
It does.
Proper votes.
It does. And then September 2nd, which will be a lunch, it's always the first Thursday or Saturday of every month. But the next one, it'll be a Saturday or a Thursday. It's September 2nd. And we'll have Congressman Amadei there. That's the concept every month of the Sierra Republican Club. It's going to be active. It's going to be good. We know what we're doing. And we'll be supporting candidates and helping.
And we spoke about demographics. We're after 35, basically to the grave.
That's why we're doing breakfast and Saturdays.
Right. Okay.
Because there's a group, young Republicans are supposed to be 20 to 35. There's actually a group. It fell apart up here. But that's what we're really after, is the ones that are working, that
Exactly.
have been in
Yep.
the real world, have a
Yep.
mortgage,
and
have
haven't been
kids.
indoctrinated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say I used to be a flaming liberal.
Well, you grew up.
No, you love the story.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I was a president of the Young Democrats, college Democrats, and I had a brother-in-law at that time. I have 3 wives. But anyway, that was very concerned. We spent a whole weekend of him back and forth.
Yeah.
And within a month, I became president of the college Young Republicans.
Yeah, see?
Which-
Yeah, good.
Okay.
You know, that's a different Democrat Party back then
Oh, yeah.
than what it is now.
Yeah.
So still flaming liberal.
I was a political-
Still abortionist.
But I was a-
it's way worse now.
But I was a political science major and very liberal at that time. Anyway, let's go to the second club.
Okay, second club. Let's talk about that.
Second club is called the Nevada Commonwealth, and it's geared to business owners and business people. It'll meet at the Sierra Foods Deli, and it'll be
Here at the Reno Town Mall.
at the Reno
Yep.
Town Mall on the last week of the month, on a Thursday or a Saturday. And the first of the meetings will be September 25th. We'll probably have the chamber or business or controversial subjects. People
Right.
know me. They know I like to put out controversial, not just boring stuff.
Now, if that doesn't work out at the store, you're always available to use our studio right here at America Matters Media.
Why
Beautiful little studio right here. And we can actually get you on the radio during certain shows if we plan it correctly.
I agree. And we're having a joint meeting. One of the first that we're doing a series of debates, being the election cycle next year, on January 27th. It'll be a joint of the 2 clubs.
Nice.
And it'll be a joint meeting, and it'll be a dinner.
That
And
gives you
it'll be-
5 months to prepare.
Yeah, we're all set.
Yeah.
We'll be set.
And that'll
Well-
be right before, leading up to the elections in 2022.
Right. The first one's going to be governor candidate. And then we'll have Secretary of State, yada, yada.
How
All-
many governor candidates do we know
So
of right
far-
now?
Right now, there's 7 or 8 that are running in the primary.
Okay.
But you don't officially register until March 21st of next year.
Next year. Okay.
But they're already announced. There's also lieutenant governor candidate, Secretary of State. These are all Republicans. But one of them in each category has to win their particular race to go against the Democrat or independent.
Right. Incumbent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or independent, yeah. Here, and by the way, it's 1060 a.m.
1060 a.m. America Matters
And
Media.
America
We
Matters
stream
Media.
worldwide at americamatters.us. We're on Facebook and YouTube.
And that's great.
And you can also go to the shows and the podcasts at americamatters.us on our website.
There you go.
And thank you guys for trying to take back our state and do the right thing here.
There you go. Thank you.
Amen. And my radio name.
I've got to go.
So Ray, we got to get Ray out of here.
Okay, Ray.
I've got to go.
God bless
All
you,
right.
amigo.
Good
We'll see you
job,
soon.
Ray. We
Yeah.
learned more about Ray. So Shannibal, thank you for all your support and your help on technology.
Thanks, Bill. Awesome.
And-
Glad to meet you a couple days ago, and look. Awesome, man.
Yeah, we talk the same language.
Yeah.
We
certainly
talk the
do.
same language, I really appreciate it. So Ray told you about the clubs, right?
Right.
So what I found was 4 years ago, this is when, Right Side was streaming Trump. I was
Yeah.
actually streaming here, and I was watching the analytics and numbers and what I could do to get numbers. And I was getting 7,000 to 10,000 people targeted. We took 5 candidates, and I can actually show the analytics where they did well. So that's why I always wanted to develop some clubs where we had more control. And Ray knows everybody.
Absolutely, and he has for many years.
Yeah, so that's sort of the background. And the Sierra Republican Club, and then the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is oriented towards business folks, and the Sierra Republican Club is oriented towards those grassroots folks who are out there fighting for principles of liberty and freedom.
How are you going to get that out? How are we going to get members?
Well, that's a good question. So what I found was when I was doing the men's club and we were interviewing, and we did a silver sponsorship for $100 in a lot of the candidates. And I take that $100 and I throw it back into targeting. And then we started doing some Saturday morning breakfast, which they shut off. And what I found was we were getting like 50% more people, and they were 35 to 50 instead of being 55 to
and up. Yeah, I've been at some of the Republican gatherings, and it's not encouraging, and some of it can be kind of negative.
The other falsity too, and we love young people, lead them going, love young Republicans. I've been a Republican my whole life. My core values are liberty and freedom. And
we used to have a strong young Republican club here.
Yeah. So anyway, but I'm saying though, your target is not the young Republicans. Your target is that person around 35 years old, up into 50, who really they make a lot of money. And if I tell you the truth, if you look at the donor list, a lot of young people give good money. They don't participate as much, but they donate. I've seen that with West Point Association I'm associated with. So that's some of the concepts.
And that's part of that generation of kids.
Yeah.
They may not want to participate. They don't talk very well. They text great. They do social media well, but they're not eye-to-eye or contact friendly.
That was perfect. Perfect lead-in, too, for the digital world. They pick this up, and they'll watch this. They'll watch some of it.
Yeah.
So we try to get it out everywhere, but the targeting is what really counts. And Google video targeting. And the other thing, too, is we even put out a podcast. One of the problems we're having now is censorship. We didn't have that 4 years ago.
Yep.
You're taken off. YouTube will take you off. YouTube's taking you off. Facebook's taking you off. They're taking all sorts of people off. You got to watch every word. So I run dummy YouTubes just to see if they're going to take us off for some of the things we put out. And these are all, this is freedom of speech.
I've just, thanks for teaching me that. I just learned that. That's very smart.
What happened to you?
Well,
you guys lost the show, didn't you?
I had thousands of viewers on the Nevada Radio Roundup, which has been going for 6 years, and we've been on YouTube and Facebook probably a year and a half. Thousands of views on a bunch of good shows. I'm not very political. I have a good news variety show. So I've got the Coach's Corner. I was a football coach, semi-pro football coach, and college. So I've got the Coach's Corner. I'm a musician, so I bring musicians in, comedians. So it's a good news variety show. So I'm not very
The show
political.
is not. You are a very strong conservative.
Right. I have to be. I got to be.
And you have to be respectful when you have people on, and you have to listen to them. The left doesn't listen to the right at all.
No.
They just...
And for whatever reason, it's ignorance, meaning not knowing. That's what the word ignorance means. You don't know. There's also the Dunning-Kruger effect, when you know just enough to be dangerous.
Yes, I could relate to that. So anyway, bottom line is, I've always wanted to teach candidates and other people more of this technology. I like to get more targeting. I like to see, I want Republicans to win. I want them to win an assembly. I want to win them across the state. When I came here to Nevada after retiring from the military, we were all Republicans, the governor, the assembly, and the Senate. We need to get it back. We need to make sure we have fair and honest elections. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a set of debates.
Good.
And we're going to invite every for this debates, and we have a process of debates that I got to explain to Ray, because we worked really hard to keep those solid. By the way, big committees don't always help out in debates. We have very small committees in debates. They work really smooth. But basically the format is whether we have 9 people running for governor or 5 or whoever shows up, they'll get an intro. They'll have a minute. We'll ask specific questions that are laid out ahead of time. We'll collect cards from the audience. They'll have a minute to answer the question, go down the line, then the 30 seconds each to rebut if they want to rebut.
Nice.
And we use these systems here, and it works. So we'll do that to all of them.
That should filter people out and separate the intelligent from not so intelligent, and hopefully the big talkers from the doers.
Correct. You got to figure out, it's a balance. You got to figure out who can win the election, who can win the general, and do they have the ability, the understanding, and the systems and the processes. And the other thing, we don't want the establishment folks. We don't want the establishment.
Yeah.
Look what they did.
And why are they running? What's their reason for running? Is it about them? Is it about the constituents, America, or our local?
Yeah. Now, when I say establishment, that's the people who are hooked in at the highest levels.
That's the deep state.
It's the deep state. Yeah. It's hard to explain, and it's out there.
That's the swamp.
It's the bureaucrats that work in government that are appointed. Look what's happening with the FBI and Department of Justice, DOJ.
Yeah.
There's some travesties. Look what's happening between the government and Facebook, YouTube, and these other accounts.
Yeah, I know, and me and you talked about that. They are private entities. We don't have to do that, but like you said, they're so entangled and entrenched with the government and the national media that it's hard to separate. Why should they get to kick us off their platform when they're so entrenched?
Right, we talked about that.
Yeah.
They've gone to a point now, it's like in the 1910 when Teddy Roosevelt broke up the oligarchies of the Standard Oil and they brought back
Steel.
markets and steel, and brought back free markets and free enterprise. Because when these corporations get so big and they get into bed with the government, it's not a free country.
Fascism at its greatest.
It's a danger of losing your country at that time.
That's when business runs the
So
government.
freedom and liberty. And by the way, thank God for our Constitution. That's what protects us.
Yep.
That's what keeps us going. The three branches of government, they do balance themselves out. The judicial right now is leaning more conservative and follows the Constitution. But if you look at the Senate and the
White House.
and the White House, of course,
Yeah,
and the White House is
terrible.
off.
Yeah.
It's out of it right
Off the
now.
charts. That's
And,
for
and
sure.
I'm worried about Nevada, but somehow we'll hang in there. We're good folks.
Well, Nevada was all red except two counties. Clark County, which you have the influence of Los Angeles, and Washoe County, which you have the influence of San Francisco.
Right. So anyway, well, I want to thanks. It's great meeting you the last few days. I've watched the studio. You know the technology, and you can help us to get the word out and get more Republicans elected.
We got to be out visually at the state capitol, like when the Trump rallies went down. All that has to take place again. You got to be in parking lots signing people up to vote. This is what the Democrats have done and the liberals have done all along. They're out there in your face, getting you to sign petitions, getting you to vote, getting you to be in, I guess, either indoctrinate you or educate you. So that's what we need to do, especially on the younger end of this indoctrination thing and the colleges and all the critical race theory and everything else that's going on. The truth must be put out there by the truthful people.
Shannon, I'm going to ask you one last question. I've been asking this to some of the folks who are coming to speak. I think it's a
All
good
right.
one. In the last cycle, what do you think the one thing the Democrats did was the worst thing they're doing?
The worst thing they did was call the special sessions during the lockdown at midnight. No one was allowed in because of the COVID. So the governor called special sessions to change voting laws.
Here in Nevada.
In Nevada. And this happened during the lockdowns after March. The lockdown started in March. Governor...
Sandoval. Not Sandoval.
Sisolak.
Sisolak.
Yeah.
Why I say Sandoval?
And he... that's when it all started, when he called the midnight sessions. And everybody was asleep. I was asleep. Everybody was in their bed asleep. But they called the special sessions in order to change...
all mail ballots.
Yeah.
So
they changed all kinds of
and
laws that
we
time.
had a pretty open election system. We had advanced voting. You could go absentee.
And
or you could
Nevada
vote
was
and vote.
first, one of the first ones to do those mail-out ballots. You just have to request them because this is such a transient state, and the military.
Yep. It's very a lot of military here.
Yeah.
But again, they did an all absentee ballot, and I know there's corruption.
Oh,
You're dealing with-
definitely.
I saw it in California when I was there, when they call them permanent absentees. But that's the worst thing, is that
Right.
secret session. And
That's one of the worst things. The other worst thing is this sand on a barbed wire fence.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are digging their grave right
Yeah.
now. So we'll, by the way, we'll keep all this, and we'll put this on our fun station to see what happens. But I'll cut some of it and make one that's good to go.
Okay. I trust you, man.
I appreciate
Besides
it very
that,
much.
whatever I say it's out there,
you can,
and it's truth, and I'm not afraid of it.
So this is a real simple way to do it. By the way, Shannon, one last thing. What do you think about this? We've got 3 iPhones.
Oh, I love
here.
it. It's so simple.
We've got
When I used to
Nick
do this,
6.
I had to take big old huge cameras like this big.
These are
Now
incredible
you
cameras.
can set this thing up in 10 minutes.
Now-
It took me an hour or 2 hours to set up a live remote just 5 years ago.
Now I'm looking at
though.
this. I could have got them a
Yeah.
little bit more level. I'm going to upgrade the equipment.
But this makes it more homey, more realistic.
And for the debates, this is what we need for the debates. We need to raise about $3,000 so we can get the portable equipment to be able to do the debates anywhere. So we're going to need the be able good sound to come out. We're going to be able to record the sound on a mixer with this puppy, and then we put these cameras up. So all we need,
And we can stream live.
so I'm probably going to have, and I'll probably have to go wireless on some Sures.
Yeah.
I'm going to need about probably 8 Shure mics. I could actually use this. If I had 2 of these recorders and enough of these, I could use these too. I can always use these for backup if somebody doesn't have a mic, but we want to get enough mics. So anyway, we need to raise money. We need equipment.
Yeah.
We need to get the word out.
And I like the way you're going. This is rather inexpensive, but really good quality.
And it works.
Yeah.
I was doing it 4 years ago. It's incredible. It's amazing. A lot of people don't get it. They don't get it, but few people got it. And they saw the analytics, what we're doing online. They looked at the numbers. They looked at how many views we got. My favorite debate last year was the sheriff's debate. We'll put that up.
Was that with Balaam?
Yeah, Balaam
Okay.
won. Balaam won
Hawkins.
the elections. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a beautiful debate. And we did it all with these cameras at the Atlantis. I hooked into the mixer. The art.
Oh, yeah.
Editing's
That's
the
it, man.
art.
And it's fun.
Yeah, and
I love to edit.
that's why I like people before they come and to think about it, to practice once, to make sure the lighting's right, to hold the mic right.
Right.
Teach them how to hold
Exactly,
the mic.
yeah.
So maybe you and I need to do a series of courses
Sure.
in teaching people.
I'm in.
So thanks. I mean, Shanimal. Did I say
Shanimal? Yep, Shanimal the animal.
Football player.
Yep. My name is Shannon Lawson.
A cowboy too. And
I played at Eastern Arizona College, and Shannon, they called me Animal, so it ended up Shanimal.
And you work ranching too, right? And horses?
Yes, I'm a ranch manager for championship cutting and reining horses.
Cool.
On 2 different ranches, actually 3, but one's out of town right now, so I'm only running 2 ranches.
We need to get my daughter out and to talk to you.
We'll do it, man. We'll take her up to Zephyr Cove riding stables, and there's also a really good riding stables in Washoe Valley.
She's a lovely.
She can come in and ride it.
She's a cowgirl.
Awesome.
I could never afford a horse.
Can't wait to meet her. She's right now at West Point Academy.
Yeah, she's a first classman at West Point. She'll be a second lieutenant next year.
She'll be graduating out of there as a second lieutenant.
Yeah, she's going to be a battalion.
God bless her. Thank you for your service.
Thanks. Hey, take care.
Yep.
So wave goodbye. We'll wave. Give them the wave.
And thank you, Bill, for your service.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. God bless.
You know, I think with you and I didn't really double check the sound, but I think with you.
Truly a disaster. And I know that you're going to answer that question on the 5th at breakfast.
Absolutely. No, it's always good to be back in my home city, Reno.
Look forward. Yeah, you're from home city. A little bit about yourself. You grew up in Carson, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. So I grew up and went to Carson High School. I graduated in 2009. My parents were originally from Vegas, where I currently reside, but worked on campaigns. I interned for Senator Heller in 2012 when he was running for reelect. Worked on Sandoval for a little bit in 14. And then in 16, I was working on the RAND team before I switched over to Trump. So I was on the Trump campaign in Reno, worked out of the office on 4th Street there. And then I spent a couple of years in Michigan working on a United States Senate race before returning home to my home state of Nevada for the presidential. And now I'm fortunate to be continuing the fight. And, I had a lot of unfinished business, and I'll be doing a very similar role. I'm as state director for the Republican National Committee in 2022 for this midterm.
I'm going to ask you one last question. I've seen a lot of cycles in politics. The contract with America in 94 was an excellent time to be a Republican and run for office. It was an excellent time. You had a high priority winning. We had a lot of Republicans win. It was a sweep. What do you see in this next election in 2022 midterms?
I think it's really going to be a referendum on the radical agenda. If you see some of the polling coming out on what moderate Democrats and independents are thinking about critical race theory and defunding the police and the crime increasing, I think their policies are really going to catch up with them. And now with the new mandates and potential lockdowns coming back, I don't see the Democrats really doing anything to be able to do themselves any favors. And I think Republicans are in for a really, really good year, but only if we do our part. Okay, one last question. I'm just going to mention this because I work with the National Association of Podcasters, one of the few places where there's freedom of speech. We got some great podcasters out there, conservative, but if they're on YouTube, they're banned, they're taken off. So you can't answer this question, but I was going to ask you today, the governor of Nevada put a mask mandate on everybody. You can't answer that question because we'd be censored on this platform on YouTube and some of the other platforms we have. Wow. We won't be censored. Okay, we're not answering that question. No, I think this governor has really shown his true colors. A lot of people trusted that he had the best interest of the state, and small businesses are paying the price. Las Vegas was completely destroyed during the pandemic. Small businesses shut down. And now you see now at these city council meetings and stuff, when they're talking about these mandates coming back, there's really, really passionate people and just average Nevadans. I'm going there and saying, you shut down my business. Why would we do this again? And, I think that's the one thing that, us as Republicans really need to look at. And, as much as 2020 was a tough year in a lot of senses, with the reluctancy in a lot of people, it's really going to be up to us to be able to show Nevadans who really cares about this state. And, hopefully we have the best United States Senate candidate and the best gubernatorial candidate to kind of lead the ticket, but it's really going to be from the ground up. Again, like I said, to go back to 2020, putting a hyper focus on local races as well as the presidential, being able to win back some of those seats in the assembly and get them out of the super minority. I can tell you firsthand from people that I've talked to, they were not very happy with us in 2020, and I don't see them being very happy with us in 2022. So, Joe, that's excellent. And you led me into the final point that I want to make about the club, the organization, both Nevada Commonwealth and the Sierra Republican Club. We actually have a set of debates laid out for the primaries for the Republicans, and we want to get the absolute best Republicans forward that are going to win the elections and sweep it. And I know you're there to do it. We're going to do it up here in Northern Nevada, and you're going to be across the state. Yeah, we're here to support you guys in any way we can.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Hey, so one last thing. Joe's got some confidential information with some good stats for the Republican Party in Nevada. He doesn't want to have it out in social media, but he'll have it to pass around and share on the 5th. Thank you for listening in to this episode of Redmove. See you on the 5th for breakfast at the Atlantis. And don't forget to subscribe. And remember the Paul Revere effect. Get out, share this information. Let's get more people going and make something of it. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year for Republicans. It's about time. So we'll also have several candidates that you can meet. We'll have introductions of those candidates. We'll have in Klamath Hawkins, who's a candidate for lieutenant governor. We'll have Tom Heck, Dr. Fred Simons, and Aaron Parks, who's a surrogate for John Lee, all running for governor. Dennis Lufkin, who's also a candidate for governor, and a surrogate T. Tran for Kris Dahir, candidate for Secretary of State. So we're going to have at least 5 or 6 candidates there. Good to meet them. It's going to be an exciting year. Come out. We'll see you at the breakfast. Remember, that's at the Atlantis Casino and Hotel.